A few weeks ago, we looked at Paul and his lack of shame concerning the gospel. In Romans, I'm not ashamed of the gospel, for it is the power of God, etc. This week's word of the week is a different word for shame. So the word in Romans had to do with being reluctant to acknowledge or talk about something outside of yourself, right? Paul is not ashamed of the gospel. Today's word for shame has more to do with shame inside oneself. First up is the noun entrope, and we get from that shame or humiliation. Entrope sounds like entropy, right? When something is deteriorating, when something is wearing down, running its course, running down. The verb is entropo, and entropo in the passive and the active are to either to be made ashamed by someone else or to make someone else ashamed. In the middle voice, it's interestingly the opposite. Instead of it being about shame, it's respect. If you have entropo inside yourself, it's respect for something or someone. So let's take quickly a look at the noun. This is in 1 Corinthians 6:5 from the ESV with the Koine supplied. I say this to your shame, and shame here is entropane. Can it be that there is no one among you wise enough to settle a dispute between brothers? So when Paul talks about believers suing each other, he says, I'm bringing this up to your shame, and the shame here is the noun in the accusative case, entropane. This week I'd like to focus on the verb, specifically as it occurs in each of the three voices. What are the three voices? Active, passive, and middle. In the active voice, I would say, I pushed John. I'm the subject, John is the object, and the action is pushing. I pushed John. In the passive voice, it would be, I was pushed by John, or John was pushed by Ken. So the verb is describing what happened to someone rather than what someone is doing. Active and passive. But then we get to the middle. And in the middle, it's something that you're doing to or for yourself. So I am pushing myself to complete this project. It's no one's pushing me. I'm not pushing someone else. It's something that I'm doing internally. I am pushing myself to complete this project. So active, passive, and middle. Let's take a look at our word of the week, our verb, entropo, in each of those forms. So first up, 1 Corinthians 4:14, I do not write these things to make you ashamed, entropone, but to admonish you as my beloved children. So ashamed here is a present tense participle. It's a present active participle. So this is our active example. I'm not writing these things to you in order to make you ashamed. Let's take a look at the passive. This is in Titus chapter 2, verses 7 and 8. Show yourself in all respects to be a model of good works, and in your teaching show integrity, dignity, and sound speech that cannot be condemned, so that an opponent may be put to shame, having nothing evil to say about us. Being put to shame here, entrope. So this is the third person singular passive from our verb entrepo. Now let's move on to the middle. We're going to look at the middle in two verses. The first one is in a positive and the second one a negative. The first up is Luke 20:13, where it says, Then the owner of the vineyard said, What shall I do? I will send my beloved son. Perhaps they will respect him. And respect here is in the middle voice, entropesantai. So when they see him, they'll have respect for my eldest son. If I send my beloved son, they're not going to treat him badly like they've treated the servants I've sent previously. They will have respect. What is the opposite of making someone ashamed? With this vocabulary word, it's to have respect for them. You either respect them or they're shamed by your lack of respect. Let's go on to the negative. This is also in Luke, but it's in 18 verses 1 and 2. And he told them a parable to the effect that they ought always to pray and not lose heart. He said, in a certain city there was a judge who neither feared God nor respected man. So here, for respected, it's me anthropomenos, so it's also a participle, but it's a middle voice participle. Looks like a passive participle, right? Because the middle and the passive share the form, but it's negated with the me. So we have that this judge is the worst kind of judge imaginable. He doesn't fear God and he has no respect for man. So he's solely focused on his own sense of what is or isn't right or wrong. So there we have our word. We've seen it in the active, in the passive, in the middle, both as a positive and a negative. When it's in the middle, it means respect. When it's in the active or the passive, it's to put shame upon someone, to shame someone, or to be shamed by someone. And that is our word of the week, entrepo. If the opposite, entrepo is the opposite of respect when you put it on someone or they put it on you, but when it's inside of you, it is respect. To regard versus to wear down. Great word, awesome stuff. Hope that was good for you. Until next time, Karis Kai Reina Humin, grace and peace to you.